is 110 or 105 millimoles. And of course, when you go to medicine, it's not a big problem to learn or to know by heart the normal values. تقعد تحفظ النورمال صوديوم والنورمال كلام وجع دماغ. هيجي لك انت نايم او دكتور تقرير من المعمل وبين قوسين النورمال فاليو بتاع الجهاز اللي عمل بتاع ده. مفيش داعي نحفظ. هي الحاجات المهمه طبعا الصوديوم والبوتاسيوم انها لها علاقه بالالكترولايتس في البلاط وكده. He can be okay, he can be up to he can be 90 millimoles, 90 milligrams per ml, but he's not a good controller. How would I know that the long-term control of diabetes of this patient is okay? HbA1c. What is the normal value of HbA1c? Right. HB. What is the name of this agent? Glycosylated hemoglobin. You can ask for a glycosylated hemoglobin level, HbA وتحت 1c. If this is normal, then this patient had at least the last 6 months a controlled blood sugar. If it is high, then this patient is lying to you. And he's only normal today because he took his treatment, because he's coming to you. So be very, very alert to these things. The second thing in diabetics, and we see it every day, is extraocular muscle pulses. You put extraocular muscles in the sheet. Okay. We have 6 muscles in the eye. Any muscle can be affected by a diabetic neuropathy. And diabetic neuropathy, and you all know that diabetics, they always have these burning hands and burning feet. يقول لك الهدايا والرجال مطلعه نار. It's a neuropathy, التهاب في الأعصاب. It's because they have a neuron vasculopathy, because the vessels are affected. It can affect the eye in any muscle, but mainly the 2 muscles you have, which are very common to be affected, is the lateral rectus, which is outside here, and the 3rd nerve. This lateral rectus is the 6th nerve. And the 6th nerve is the most commonly affected by anything. هو أكتر واحد بيتأثر. ليه؟ هناخد بعدين. Or the 3rd nerve. The good thing about the 6th nerve is that it gives 1 muscle. So the patient tells you, I got up in the morning and I saw my wife 2. Of course, 1 is enough. So 2 wives is a catastrophe. He comes to you, and what would be his response to doing like this? Because if he opens his eyes, he sees double. The eyes are not seeing the same thing. Diplopia, which is binocular, is very characteristic of these muscle pulses. But of course, if it's a 3rd nerve, then the problem is more complicated. We'll take it later on in ophthalmology. These patients do very well when you control their blood sugar. They do very well. You never operate on these patients. And the first question you ask them, are you diabetic? He says no. I had a patient who said no for a 3rd nerve palsy. I made a fasting blood sugar. It was 1,253 milligrams per cent. And the normal is between 80 to 120. And he doesn't know that he's diabetic. Do you drink too much water? Sometimes when it's hot. Do you get up in the evening and go to the toilet? Once, I'm old, doctor. Once or twice, maybe 2, 3 times sometimes. He doesn't know. A lot of times you find, you go into, look into the fundus of the eye itself, retina, you see a catastrophe inside. And the patient doesn't know that he's diabetic. So take care, don't believe the patients. Believe your investigations, a paper. We said that a lot of manifestations like lobulous iridis, by the way, lobulous iridis can occur in any ischemia in the retina, not only diabetes. A lot of things produce lobulous, you take it as you go. And it can produce cataract. This water going and coming into the lens, and the end damages the lens fibers. So I get a diabetic cataract. In the beginning, in the very early stages, it may be reversible if you control the blood sugar. But as the opacity is established, never. It will go and go and go until it becomes total. And diabetics, you can be very, very amazed how much or how fast will they mature. You can see the patient today, some cataractus changes in the lens, he's very irregular in his treatment, very irregular in shooting blood sugar levels, and then after 1 month he comes to you with a total cataract. A rapid progression of a cataract is indicative that he has a metabolic problem. Diabetes is number 1, 2, 3, and 5. It can be galactosemia, it can be excess monophosphate, I don't know what, a lot of things are there. But diabetes is always in your mind. And then we have the catastrophe of diabetes, which is diabetic retinopathy. I'm sorry, there's an I missing here. التعلل الشبكي السكري. retinopathy بالعربي يعني تعلل. في سوريا بياخدوها كده. تعلل الشبكي السكري. ربنا يكرمهم إن شاء الله. Diabetic retinopathy. And we said about diabetic retinopathy. There are 2 problems in diabetic retinopathy. Either there is ischemia or there is leakage. That's the only thing you have to know about it. Now let's look at the iris. I don't know if you can see it. You can see this blood vessel here. Normally, the blood vessels of the iris are inside the iris. There are no blood vessels on the surface of the iris. But when you see blood vessels on the surface of the iris, this is rubiosis iridis, or new vascularization of the iris. If you see this, you know it's over. Believe me. Because we think that is totally ischemic and that things have reached up to the anterior segment. What's the problem with the rubiosis iridis? So what if they have some blood vessels in the iris? So what? They can bleed sometimes, give you some blood in the anterior chamber? Is it all this that you are telling us about rubiosis? Is there any problem associated with rubiosis? Need to tell no, the iris is not, it's not, this is the iris. جلوكوما. مين جلوكوما؟ ازاي؟ ها؟ انت المجموعة دي؟ ها؟ المجموعة اللي فاتت شفت ازاي؟ داخلين عليه انت جاي بس كويس، ده حاجة جميلة انك جاي تسمع تاني. Now the blood vessels on the iris will start to move. If you are very devoted to your students, you know every one of them. And the good ones as well. The iris vessels will start to creep. Creep يعني يزحف. Will creep and creep until they reach the end here. What is here? This is the cornea, and this is the iris. This is angle of the anterior chamber. And if the blood vessels reach the angle and they form a neurovascular membrane at the angle, what will happen to the aqueous? Will it be able to pass through, or will it be blocked? It will be blocked. And this is what we call second glaucoma due to angle block. بالعقل كده اسمها كده حتى ما خدناش glaucoma. What is known as neovascular glaucoma. Neovascular glaucoma. Glaucoma due to nerve vessels on the iris. This is the worst type of glaucoma you can ever confront. It doesn't have a cure. Because you have to treat the cause, you don't treat these things. You treat the cause inside. This is cataract. You see the lens is white. Of course, this is the pupil dilated. And this is a picture of the normal vessels of the retina. We'll see what happens here after this. You see these are the arteries and veins, and these are the capillaries inside, and this is a black area. This is the macula. It's a black area because it has no blood vessels. It has no blood vessels. You can take your homework back home and try to answer this question, and I said it before in the last round, because this can be a very good question at the end of the exam. What are the privileges of the macula? Privilege يعني مزايا. What are the privileges of the macula? ربنا عمل خلق الماكلة دي لها مزايا وخصائص جميلة جدا تتوافق مع عملها كأهم حتة في عينك. This is the center of your vision. If you have a good macula, you have good vision. If you have a bad macula, you don't see. So what are the privileges of the macula? One of them is that it has no blood vessels. So that the light can focus very accurately and very accurately on the surface. Because if there were blood vessels, light will be scattered and the type of image quality can be reduced. So let us remove the blood vessels. There are other 6 privileges. As you go through the round, you'll be able to pick it one by one. At the end, maybe we can review this answer. Now this is another patient, and this is a fundus photograph. We are photographing his fundus. But what can you see in this photo? It's not clear. There is something here, and there is something here, but it's not clear, it's hazy. Why? There is blood in the vitreous. This is a vitreous hemorrhage, and I cannot see anything exactly which is there, because there is blood in the vitreous. If there is blood in the vitreous, this means that this is a proliferative condition. There are new vessels bleeding. ما الدم هيجي منين غير من new vessels بتاعت الفيجف والموضوع اللي احنا اتكلمنا عنه. So let us take a clearer photo. Now this is our photograph. You see this yellow thing here? Yellow thing. You can see deposit in the retina. This is a hard exudate. This is the lipid I said about it. I said that serum oozes out of the leaking capillaries and deposit in the retina. This is the hard exudates, HE. Hard exudate. It is here concentrated, unfortunately, in the macula, or the fovea, to be more precise. This is the fovea. This is the center of the eye. This is the optic disc. Maybe it's not that clear. There are other lipids here. Maybe we can take this picture here. All this is fat, serum, which is precipitated in the retina. But the optic disc, I can see the optic disc. It is pink in color. There are arteries and veins. Of course, arteries are light in color because they contain oxyhemoglobin. Veins are dark in color because they contain reduced hemoglobin. And always arteries are thinner than veins. And this is the fovea here. There is nothing here. But if you look with your both eyes and see this picture, you'll find that this macula is like this. There is fluid inside. It is raised. في رشح زي ما تتخبط كده ورجلك تروح. ما ده ميه في الركبه مثلا. It's the same thing here. This is fluid in the macula. This is what we call macular edema. And this is a very important cause to affect vision in diabetics if they don't have new vessels. This is a background condition. There is nothing. There are no new vessels. A background or non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, or NPDR. Now, if things get worse, then you see this disc. This is different from the disc we saw. It has a lot of blood vessels on the surface. These are not supposed to be there. So these are new vessels on the disc. So we call these NVD, new vessel disc. And this is the worst type of new vessels you have. And if they bleed, you can start to cry. There's another case. Disc is beautiful here. There's nothing here. But there are these new vessels in the retina. These are the areas where VEGF found a normal tissue to produce new vessels. It didn't have to go to the iris. So this is still a better prognosis. What is important to note that this is a non-proliferative or proliferative is your treatment. The treatment will differ here and there, and you'll take this in details after. If I put this dye and do the first, what you saw in the first slide there, the vessels of the retina, which is this one. This is we inject a dye here, fluorescein. We took fluorescein, we put to see coronal ulcers. It's the same thing, but we inject it in the anticubital vein, and we take photos of the fundus. This is a fundus, fluorescein, angiography. You take this as a lot lecture. And this is a normal fundus, but if you do the fluorescein angiography in a diabetic, you find these areas which are lighting up, منورين حتت منورة زي المصابيح. These are the new vessels. Because new vessels, they don't keep the dye inside. They're abnormal, leaky vessels. So they start to leak the dye, and you find these dyes outside. So we have, you can see it. Even if you don't see it with your eyes, sometimes you don't see these things with your eyes. Inject the dye, take your photos, you'll find these. So you know that your thought it was a non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, now it showed to be a proliferative. You imagine it would be totally different. Another instrument which we use now, and is available in our department, it's costing about 700,000 Egyptian pounds, is the optical coherence tomography. I hope that you can have the chance to see this machine, because it's like an MRI of the retina. An MRI of the retina. We'll see photos for it as we go forward. This is a very important issue in diabetes. people, when you tell them you have to do laser, we won't go into the details of these things now. It's too early. But to lift the diabetic retinopathy, they are treated by laser treatments. If you tell somebody you have to do laser, he becomes very afraid and tells you, no, my cousin had laser and he's blind. Laser never causes blindness. If you do a laser to a case of PDR, he has not a 50%, he has a 68% chance to retain his vision. If you don't do a laser, he has a 36% chance to retain his vision. So he has to choose between 68% and 36%. You don't choose for him. You don't tell him you have to do this. You just tell him the options and the possibilities. And he has to choose and he has to sign. You are only a clarifier. You don't force the patient to take a certain procedure. You tell him the odds. If you do the laser, you have a chance, which is proved everywhere in the world, of 70% that you can retain your vision. Or if it can decrease, it will decrease a little bit.